Clive Bull on LBC.
I'm Clive Bull. This is LBC. I'm with you till 10. It's the legal hour after 9 o'clock. So if you want some free legal advice, your chance to talk to barrister Daniel Barnett, who's with me at 9 o'clock. We're talking at the moment about the go-ahead, the final go-ahead for a £160 million scheme for the capital. Transport for London have approved the plan, segregated bike lanes, including 2 so-called crossrail for bikes. They're going to be massive routes that go right across. They're going to be segregated. In other words, there'll be a curb and it will be a separate lane. In some cases, completely separate. 0345 6060 973. Do you believe that this is the right way to ensure the safety of cyclists? Mentioned the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association earlier on. They've got a different view on this. We've got Steve McNamara on the line. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Clive.
Thank you for joining us. I gather you're objecting to these proposed superhighways, at least as they stand.
No, that's not actually it's specifically accurate. What we're objecting to is certain parts of the cycle superhighways. For example, let's just start by saying that firstly, as everybody says, and for common sense, is we're obviously in favour of segregating cycles from the majority of traffic. It's a common sense, sensible approach. It's better for our members, it's better for taxi drivers, just like that bus driver was saying earlier. The big concern to us is what we don't want is accidents with cabs and bikes. It's worrying for the drivers. It's a great concern. It's one of the big stress factors of driving in London is cyclists jumping lights, pulling out in front of you. If they're segregated, it's got to be a good thing. We're all in favour of it. But we're in favour largely with the majority of the north-south cycle superhighway. There's a few points we've got concerns about. But our main bone of contention, along with many others, is the east-west cycle superhighway. The initial plan has been they were going to take out lots more roads than they're actually taking out. They've now modified it, which basically tells you how accurate their planners were the first time round. They've quickly realised that wouldn't work, so now they've come up with this basically Plan B. We've got grave concerns over the western end of it, where it meets Westminster Bridge, forcing traffic around Parliament Square, banning lots of turns. It's going to have a monumental effect on the traffic in that part of London. It's going to have a detrimental effect on London's air quality, a detrimental effect on London, working London, because this myth that's put around by the cycling groups that, it's sort of rich people in their cars smoking cigars and throwing ash out the window at the poor working man on his bike. I mean, it's a complete myth. The reality is that nobody drives in London for fun. During the day, 98% of the traffic just look around, is commercial traffic. What's going to happen is all of this commercial traffic, London's lifeblood, is going to be sitting stationary, seriously and severely delayed for large parts of the day for this cycle scheme that's based on a 1 hour cycle count on a warm day. What we're saying to TfL, what Canary Wharf have said to TfL, and what lots of businesses are saying, including Westminster City Council, and including concerns from the City of London, is put it in as a plastic trial, these blocks they put out, implement the band turns, and let's see what happens. And if it all works as your planners say it's going to work, absolutely great. We'll all give it a thumbs up and we'll say, well done, TfL.
So you want a trial, a sort of dummy trial of it? Yeah,
absolutely. Look, it's easy to do. They're spending £160 million anyway. I mean, God knows how it comes to that figure. But that's the sort of money they're going to be spending. Included in that 160 million quid, the rental of a few plastic blocks, temporary bans on turns. Let's trial it. If it works, great. We'll all be happy. If it doesn't, they can modify it. We cannot have a system in the greatest city on earth that's based on the cycle flows for an hour in the morning. It's 24 hours in every day. London's a 24-hour working city. We need a 24-hour-a-day working traffic scheme for the greatest city on earth, and this is not it.
OK, and what do you make of the remarks about the capital's cyclists being the biggest danger to themselves? Do you think there is some truth in this, or is it just a minority of cyclists who do the wrong thing?
We did a survey about a year, 18 months ago, we erected some cameras at traffic junctions and just left the hidden cameras running for an hour. And our survey showed then that just under 50% of cyclists don't stop at red lights. That's what that survey shows. We've been severely criticised by the cycling community for doing that. Incidentally, when we first announced our concerns over this cycle superhighway, and we announced in conjunction with our business partners in London that we're considering a judicial review, and we are still considering that if they don't implement this temporary trial, we are considering a judicial review. We have been lambasted by the cycling community. These people, not when I say these people, the zealots of the cycling world, are unbelievable. We have had cyber attacks on our websites. They are all over us like a cheap suit on Twitter and social media. We've had physical threats of violence. You name it, we've had it. It's absolutely unreal. The loonies out there in the cycling world, are literally that. They're almost the sort of ISIS of London. Their views and their politics are, if you're not with them, and as I said to you before, we are with the majority of it, if you're not with them, then, nothing's too bad for you. It's unbelievable what we've been threatened with. These people are unreal. When we first got involved in this, and we were speaking to London businesses, they were saying to us, what you need to say, what you need to do. And we're saying to them, why have we got to do it? Why can't you say it? Oh, no, we can't say that. The cyclists will be all over us.
But that's not the average cyclist. These are the real sort of very vociferous campaigners you're talking about.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
They are, but they are bad news. Them vociferous campaigners, let me tell you, Clive, they're bad news.
All
but
right.
We must also remember, cyclists in London, the majority of cyclists in London are white and male and professional. That's just a simple fact. All the surveys will show you that. So when these people talk about what we need to do, we need to get cycling more like it is in Holland. Well, you need to change the attitude of cycling in London, because you only need to go and stand at any junction and look at them with not all of them, the majority of them with their watches on their handlebars, trying to beat their PBs, their personal bests. We need to change the whole mantra, the whole ideal of cycling in London. We need to make it much more like it is on the continent. We do need segregated cycle lanes, but we need to remember London is a working city and it needs to be planned that way.
OK, Steve, thank you very much indeed. Steve McNamara from the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association, outlining that they will fight this. And they at the very least, they may go to a judicial review, and at the very least, they want a trial with some plastic blocks. Let's see if it works, he says, which is a reasonable point, isn't it? William in Hemel Hempstead. Hello, William.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Very